Well, the Southeastern Conference never really announces a site for any of its championships until they have a signed contract. And in this case, there was so much interest about this particular bid that they went ahead and announced it without us dotting all the I's and crossing the T's relative to the contract. But we'll enter into that agreement here quickly. We anticipate the length to be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. We'll be pushing for 5 years, but this is a very proud day for us.
But you don't anticipate having to go through this same ordeal next year?
Gosh, I hope we don't have to go through it anytime soon, because this was one of the most competitive bid processes for an event that we've ever gone through in our 25 years in business. And I think it's a tribute to what's happened here in Hoover, in that the event's grown so much that it became coveted by a lot of big cities like Nashville and Memphis and New Orleans and Jacksonville. And there was such competition for this event that it really was a lot of work by a lot of people over many months.
Were you surprised that the decision or the agreement was coming out this quickly, or did you anticipate a little longer time?
I think, we knew that the decision would be made today. And I think for the past week or so, we've been comfortable that Hoover would win the bid, especially in light of the fact that an attendance record was established last week in the tournament. But you just never know until you get that phone call. And while I was really confident, I was really relieved when I picked up that phone and heard Hoover wins.
What do you feel will be the difference in getting a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract?
You know, frankly, I'm not sure what the SEC will use as their determinant on the length of the contract. The RFP said a 3-year deal with 2 one-year options. We'll be pushing for 5 years because it allows us to do things, invest in things that if you're able to justify a 5-year contract, it's easier to get those things done over the longer term than if it's a shorter term agreement.
That being said, how much pressure does it put on Hoover and your organization, knowing that there were so many people interested in this event, they're just going to be preparing for that next bid process?
The thing about sporting events in this country, like so many things in college athletics, it's become an arms race where cities are competing very aggressively with each other for events like this. And so you have to up your game regardless of the event, regardless of the size, because somebody's coming after it. Not only for the economic impact, but for the image enhancement that these events bring to your community.
That being said, how important is it, the project that you're talking about, the expansion, the making the dimensions the same as Omaha, all the player lounge and things like that? Was that already something you were thinking about before this even came into?
You know, I would say when the bid process really kicked into high gear, I think it was fairly even among several cities as to where the conference was going to go. And the difference maker in the end became this new addition that the city of Hoover is making to the Hoover Met. That's going to afford us the opportunity to do so many things during the baseball tournament, add some atmosphere for kids, families, adults, and also create a lounge for the players, which is good for both the student athlete and the fan. So this new facility is going to be an amenity that I think is going to really help us keep this here for a very long period of time.
Beyond the new facility, was there any feedback on what else they'd like to see you guys do over the next 3 or 4 years?
There was a list of some minor things that the conference wants us to see. Let me say that again. There is a small list of things the conference wants us to undertake over the next couple of years. I know the city of Hoover has already agreed to replace the playing surface before the 2018 tournament. There's some minor changes that need to be made to the batting cage. So there's some tweaks here and there, but I think this year's tournament, with the attendance record and all the amenities that we added this year, really made the conference very happy.
Just for clarification, they got to replace the playing surface by 2018 or 2017?
The city of Hoover is voluntarily replacing the playing surface by the 2018 tournament because it's time. There's some thatch underneath the surface, and the rain doesn't percolate as much as it needs to during a heavy rainstorm. So the city was already planning to do that. The tournament's just the impetus to get it done by the 18 tournament.
the expansion talks, had that been going on for a little while, or did it really just kick into high gear when you kind of saw what you were up against?
This expansion discussion really occurred in the past 6 months. The city of Hoover was moving down a certain path, a certain piece of property that didn't work out. They came back and looked here at the Met and said, hey, what if we do this that will benefit our community 51 weeks of the year, bringing in youth leagues, adult leagues for baseball, tennis, soccer, whatever. And oh, by the way, this will be a great amenity for the SEC baseball tournament. So it ended up accomplishing two things, and the city of Hoover was going to build this expansion regardless of the tournament, but the commissioner of the SEC did request last week a letter from the city saying that it would be built, just so that there would be no confusion as to whether the city would deliver or not.
You called this the crown jewel of the events you guys have. How big is this event for this facility overall?
This is definitely the crown jewel for the Hoover Met. It's a great branding tool as the city goes out and searches for other events to be played here. I'll tell you right now that we're submitting a bid to host the Davis Cup semifinal here at the Hoover Met out on the playing surface. The American team, if they beat Croatia in July, will be playing someone in the semifinals in September, and they want to play outdoors. Well, this is the only place that we can play outdoors in this greater metropolitan area, and the USTA wants to come back here. Well, the fact that there's the SEC baseball tournament here, those things help when you go out to recruit big events like that.